Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the TV pilot's license with service to Cognito Inc. and the Deep State. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that the Deep State isn't real. The world is round, and we definitely are real pilots.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Jeff Kurbis, joined by Max Singer and Rich Inman. How you boys doing today?
No, Jeff, dig deeper. Talk crazy. You might finally get some streams on this fucking show.
Max doesn't believe in the vaccine anymore. Jeff believes in the mole people.
The earth is flat. The earth is flat. The earth is flat. We're gonna trick the algorithm. The earth is flat.
If you suck down chemtrails, you will get yoked. This is welcome to my experience on real supplementation. Well, boys, we are talking about the series of Inside Job, another one-season show for us to discuss about the pilot and talk about maybe what went wrong. But before we do so, for folks who might have come in for the conspiracy theories, what is this podcast all about?
So, here at the Joe Rogan Experience, we break...
Hold on, let me get my DMT pen.
Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn a little bit more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes and making us want to watch more, and if we think they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you get podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And Rich, what is your question of the week?
So, this question of the week actually dives a little bit into the plot of the pilot episode of Inside Job, but I would want to know, based on your collective understanding of how our media works, how our government works, how the people prop up particular leaders, and how unwavering people are to support particular people, if the president was indeed replaced by a robot, how long do you think it would take until we actually found out?
I mean, let's just dive in and go full conspiracy theory. I think the president was a robot at one point in time. Let's go. Who can tell me that I'm fucking wrong? None of you can. I mean, like, after... Let's all right, this might get a little bit dark, but after a certain president, got proven to not be a robot, how do we know that any other ones were not robots without, doing the same test with the sniper?
Oh, Jesus! Oh, so you went King Solomon strategy on it? You're trying to figure out if presidents are robots in the same way we test if raccoons have rabies?
I mean, there's only one way to test if a raccoon has rabies. Let's be honest.
So in your opinion, it's kind of like a mechanical Turk situation where they just there's someone operating the president before we had the technology for robots.
I mean, let's be honest. If you told me that Jimmy Carter was a president or was a robot, based off of how long Jimmy Carter has been living, and God bless him, he's gotten even better since he's been out of office. The man just likes building houses and living his life.
I don't like how we are mentioning Jimmy Carter while he's in hospice. Something's going to happen while we.
He's still building houses. This man loves building houses. And if you told me hypothetically that man was a robot, I'd be like, you know what? I'm not too surprised.
He ran on peanut oil. It's not hard to put it together.
I mean, ironically, to Jeff's point, JFK was probably our most robotic president. That guy had so many issues growing up. He had spinal fusions and braces and all sorts of things. I mean, that man was half machine. Him and FDR, of course.
Oh, good Lord.
Rich, I mean, from your perspective, let's just play the game of up until this point, let's go with the sheep and say up until this point, every president has been a living human being.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, what do you think would be the point? How long in a single term do you think they could get through before we realize that they're not a human being?
If nothing malfunctions, we'll never find out. I am firmly believe, because like, look at what we all did with Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell literally froze. He had two Windows updates happen while giving a speech.
Oh my God.
And you know what? All the Republicans were like, Mitch is fine. That's Mitch being Mitch, baby.
Yeah, how many times have we watched the current guy and the former guy just say gobbledygook programming? Yeah, just yelling gobbledygook, and everyone's just like, that's just the way it is.
That's just them, aren't they kooky? Well,
yeah, I do firmly believe that we will not know, just because of how many people will, I don't know, accuse us of being ageist, or like just so like faithfully or blind faith like lead themselves into the darkness on this. We'll never know.
You know what? If you want to learn more, maybe we'll talk about it more if you listen to more of this podcast. But
and that's the Joe Rogan experience.
No, don't fuck up our SEO. It's our TV pilot's license is about chemtrails. Open your eyes.
Yes. Well, Rich, thank you for that delightful
Tune in
question.
Next week when we cover Malaysian Flight M370.
Oh my God. We know what the problem is there, Rich.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, before we dive a little bit deeper into Inside Job, a quick synopsis. A dysfunctional team of shadow government employees commit conspiracies. That's it. And I think we got a really good taste of that in this pilot. But Max, can you tell us a little bit more about how this show got made?
Sure thing, Jeff. Today we're talking about the pilot of Inside Job, titled Unprecedented. That's Unprecedented. Which originally aired on October 22nd, 2021 on Netflix. We're talking about the show's creator, Shion Takeuchi, a little bit. An Annie Award and Primetime Emmy nominee, she began a professional career after graduating from Cal Arts as an intern at Cartoon Network working on Adventure Time. From there, she serves as a writer and storyboard artist at Cartoon Network on Regular Show. She leaves Cartoon Network for Pixar, working in the story department for Disney Features, Monsters University, and Inside Out, which leads to her shifting lanes within Disney and taking a writer's room job on Gravity Falls, where she stayed until the show's conclusion in 2016. A writing gig at Netflix on Matt Groening's Disenchantment lands Takeuchi development deal with the streamer for its new in-house animation division. She pitches a show based on an idea she had in college stemming from listening to Coast AM, a late-night syndicated AM radio program documenting the weird and bizarre. The show exposed her to the concept of the shadow government. Takeuchi enjoyed the idea of someone having to run the shadow government and having them have just petty, trivial personal lives, just the middle management of a shadow government. In April 2019, Netflix orders 20 episodes of Inside Job as the streamer's first adult animated series created in-house. Joining her creatively are Alex Hirsch, the creator of Gravity Falls, and BoJack Horseman director Mike Hollingsworth.
So, Max, before we dive too deep, I just like to imagine that, some people hear about conspiracy theories and hypothetically we ask where they were on a certain day in January. Other people hear about conspiracy theories and create a cartoon show that was then picked up by Netflix. So, you know what? Have hobbies when you're delving into this.
It's very dependent on which conspiracies you're listening to.
Yeah. Which ones do you like?
Because listen, the 2 a.m. radio guy who's, speaking into a microphone,
all I can see is Dale Gribble talking into a ham radio.
That guy is trying to explain to you that the moon is actually a satellite, and listen, that guy's unproblematic. He's a little troubled, but he's not really going to cause any harm.
Well, let's dive into today's pilot and some of the conspiracy theories that we talk about with this cold open of the idea that what if the people that were just yelling at the White House actually knew everything that was going on? They were telling the complete and the only truth, because we get the lovely idea of Christian Slater, his character is just yelling at the White House a ton of different conspiracy theories that are pretty, like, to start this show, these are some of the tamer things that this show even deals with for the most part.
There are some of the tamer things by today's real life standards too.
I will say too, like I just started listening to Behind the Bastards podcast, and I started with the 4-part series on MK Ultra, and the way that they describe the CIA's love of conspiracy theorists, because if they get something right, but they also are shouting about Bigfoot in the same sentence, no one will ever believe it and will stay a secret forever.
Not the only time we're going to be talking about Bigfoot on today's podcast.
But yeah, to that point, it's like if you just shout, a couple of crazy things amongst the real ones, people aren't going to believe you. We've got Christian Slater yelling about lizard people, robot presidents, and if you fold a dollar bill, it spells boobs. I mean, like, wake up, everyone.
But immediately bringing in, rather than this pilot just being, like, about Rand and about this man who is grizzled by the idea of conspiracy theories, we're also introduced to the character of Reagan, his daughter, who also works for this same bonkers company, played by Lizzy Caplan. And it is a very nice, and here's a word I commonly use on this podcast, juxtaposition of being able to have this man who's grizzled by a lot of working in the deep state for so long, and then his daughter who seems to be this up-and-comer who's lives and breathes the idea of being a good and faithful soldier to our company, Cognito Inc. So this is not the first time I have seen this pilot. So I'm curious, as we go to Cognito Inc., as I assume this is probably the first time both of you have seen this, what are your thoughts just driving up to this random company?
Just from everything we've said so far, just also really quick on Lizzy Caplan as Reagan. She's such a distinct voice, and I really enjoy it. I think that she plays end of her rope characters so well. I loved her in Party Down. I loved her going back to Big Girl. She was so great the other year in Fleischman is in Trouble. She just plays these like down in the dumps, end of rope, frantic characters so well, and she brings that to this. I love We Are a Company for Cognito Inc. That tells me everything I need to know. Like that, amongst all the crazier visual jokes that this show does, just We Are a Company repeating over and over again tells me everything.
I love the second that they open the doors. It is just absolute like 3-ring circus mayhem in there. It's just things getting set on fire, people in mech suits. There's fantastical creatures.
This is definitely a show that is a feast for your eyes. This is not a laundry folding show. There's a lot of jokes that are hidden in details throughout the show. And because it's one of those things where not only, if you look at the creators' history of and their tutelage of where they're coming from, there is a lot of history of give a feast for the eyes, give a feast for the ears, like make it not just any old animation show, make it something where they have to be paying attention. And we see, like, I have a list of all the different types of conspiracies that we see within like 30 seconds with the idea of like, hey, there's shape-shifting reptiles. There's the stock market is run by blood sacrifices, which is
true.
It's a really great way to say this is what we're in for. And then even more of a feast for the eyes is the wild 15-second intro that we get that goes through maybe 20 more different conspiracy theories, just in case we haven't caught the one that you like or that's your cup of tea.
I thought that was an interesting choice because I felt like they burned a lot of jokes in that one short period of time, like taking people through it. I feel like they could have teased those out to be their own episodes and stuff like that. They probably do. I'm not like there's 18 episodes total, I think.
But I think that's this style of animation though, this era where when you look at shows like Adventure Time and Gravity Falls, where they really just kind of pepper you, and instead of like drawing a joke out and playing it for multiple beats, it's kind of just hit it hard, hit it fast, go on to the next thing, keep throwing stuff against the wall. And I think we're perhaps used to maybe a little bit more of like long game or long con. And this is definitely a style of joke telling that I see more youthful animation. But
Yeah.
it's definitely it's a testament to the writing staff to be able to just keep throwing these things out and even burning a lot of them not as spoken jokes, but as just little gags and sight things in the background.
Do you think it's potentially tied to how we consumed their target demos, like consumption of like childhood cartoons? Because this is like, SpongeBob is very like jokes all over the place. There's visual. A lot of Nickelodeon shows and Cartoon Network shows had a lot of visual jokes in there, but also like you see this a lot in Rick and Morty, and things of that ilk, where it's just like it's geared towards people who grew up on cartoons of that nature, of like the joke is the random thing, so they have to stay stimulated the whole time. I don't know if that's like a similar path.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I would also say, like, think of the platform that we're talking about being on. This isn't just, like watching Family Guy or the animated, prime time that Fox does every Sunday. This is, hey, cool, you're on Netflix. You have a bevy of other choices of where you could go. Let's make sure that you are entertained from the moment this pilot starts to the moment it ends, and that it's not even a decision of whether or not you click next episode when
How
you're
many
presented
loud,
that choice.
shiny things can we put out there while you're hovering over it on the search screen when you get that little preview showing? Like, how many things can we hit you with in that time that make you want to click on this?
I just wonder,
yeah,
like what the size of that department is that cuts everything on Netflix to like a 15-second clip. Of just
they also work for Cognito Inc.
Yes, 100%. They didn't want to show us that section just because it would be too
How
meta.
does Adam Sandler keep making top 5?
Let's dive into some of the cast of characters that we now get to meet after our intro, because I love the idea of taking this very super serious thing and just saying, what if it was run by morons? What if it was run by a bunch of just idiots and that are running like the highest part of the government? Because we get that. And this show, if you like to watch a show and be like, oh, I know that voice, there are a lot of just pretty decent comedians that are involved with this, celebrities that are involved with this, where you're like, holy shit. Like, I highly recommend, if you're listening to this podcast, go on your phone, because you can listen to podcasts and search on Google Chrome and search Inside Job Cast, and you're just going to be like, oh, I like a lot of these people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a who's who of both comedians, actors, and notable voice people. Like, even if you see names on there that you don't know, they have voiced some of your favorite characters too. And I like how they get prominent voice comics as well as actual notable figures.
Yeah, like one, for example, is someone that we love here at TV Pilots License, and it's Andy Daly. Andy Daly just in here playing the CEO of Cognito Inc. and being the best version of just the douchiest boss you could ever have.
Talk about guys who have just made a killing finding one thing that they could do so incredibly well, like the Andy Daly type that he plays over and over again. And he could do it live, he could do it animated, and you're immediately like, oh, this is Andy Daly.
I can't wait till we do the pilot review. That's one of my dark horse absolute favorites of Comedy Central.
So, like, talking about some of the details in this, I lost my mind when I saw that there was a signed photo from George W. Bush as well as a signed photo from Cthulhu on the wall. It's just like one of those, like, hey, here is a feast for your eyes. Like, if you see the joke, great. If you didn't, you're not going to miss anything as far as the plot. But we meet another big character in this pilot, because is our Passover question, our why are we here, what makes this day special, is Reagan believes that she is getting a promotion just to find out that she's almost getting a demotion. She's no longer going to be leading a team by herself. There's this random new dude named Brett Hand, who is going to be joining her team, played by Clark Duke. And I like the idea of just having this. Okay, what if we just brought in this white male character who has no background and has done nothing, and he's suddenly just going to be starting off with a leg up, but he's also the most likable douche that you've ever met.
It's really hard for me to not compare Brett Hand to Todd Sanchez from BoJack Horseman if we're just comparing Netflix animated shows, where it's just the mediocre white guy who keeps fumbling his way up the ladder, except, you know, Todd is the, you know, lovable low status idiot who keeps finding himself in hijinks, and Brett is posed as this high status character. We meet him by saying that he graduated top of his frat, a fantastic line, and that he became a lobbyist because he loves lobbies, which is, chef's kiss.
I just love the choice of making them all really stupid, because you expect like a show about a shadow government, or like a display of a shadow government to be like, you know, in the new Black Panther movie, they have that like 18-year-old engineering prodigy that they like as essentially kidnap and bring to Wakanda. Like, it is not that. It is, everyone's as dumb inside as they are outside.
Well, Rich, the real evil are the DC yes men. The real evil are the suits. It's not the people working at Cognito. It's the suits.
Having our issue be, hey, there's this new character joining the gang, is a really fun one, because we also get to learn about everyone's background via this character, using them as like an introduction or like an excuse to be like, oh, hey, this is Magic Mike, who is a gigantic walking mushroom. That like, he can read people's minds. Here is our scientist, played by Bobby Lee, who is just super into like rave culture and doing Molly. Like, and here's Gigi, who invented the selfie so people would dox themselves, which was just such a great fucking line. Can we all agree that that is the one of, just to think of that in the writer's room of like, why are selfies here? Oh, well, I know you're on vacation, so I can go and find you. Like, it's brilliant.
The writers room does a great job of mixing up like very blunt, like, oh yeah, this is a conspiracy thing, with like, oh god, yeah, that is probably why it was invented. Like, they do reveal some bits of human nature that are just like, oh, this was clearly meant to be. This could have easily been invented with malevolence.
It's a very direct show. There's not a lot of subtext in Inside Job. Even when we do get actual exposition and character development, it's very directly stated. I think about Eddie Daly's character gives like a real like 2-liner exposition dump on Reagan, where it's just like, you were a teen prodigy who graduated from MIT at 13. The bags under your eyes show you never stop working. You scare people. You're a genius who has no people skills. And it's just like, we're going to list 4 characteristics about Reagan. It could like consecutive order. There's nothing below the surface. It's just a very direct, blunt style of dialogue.
So let's talk about a little bit of what keeps this plot going, right? Reagan gets fired even though she has headed up this gigantic effort to, what our question of the week, replace the president with a robot because the president is an utter moron, which is one of the funnier reasons that you would do so. And chaos ensues without giving too much detail, because Reagan is not there to oversee the why, to oversee this mission. It's a really nice way of making sure that we can, in my opinion, have some stakes that are a little bit higher right from the start of this pilot, but also give us an understanding of, this is the first episode. If this is the stakes of our first episode, what the fuck is going to happen from here on out? Because we're starting off with, the president isn't real. He's entirely influenced by the deep state.
Yeah, that is the what makes today different from any other day bit of it. It is Reagan's life's work that's about to be deployed for the very first time. That was like, I mean, it was a great way to raise those stakes, but also I agree with you, Jeff. Like, where do you go from there? What's episode 2 going to be about if episode 1's about your life's work?
Max, what are you thinking about this big conflict that we had to deal with?
I think that it's well done in the sense that you have Reagan, realizing that she's a lot more like her father than she wants to be, who we find out was also kind of put on leave and forced out of the company for, quote, getting drunk and trying to blow up the sun, which he says he was trying to do to cure skin cancer. Very obtuse joke there.
That's a very good one.
You get this high stakes plot of we're going to replace the leader of the free world with a robot, and below that you get family dynamic, Reagan learning to accept the parts of her that are like her dad that she's fought for a long time. You get this dynamic between her and Brett where it's like, he's the bumbling idiot who is realizing he's in over his head, and she's the hot-headed, hard-headed one who can't, have the people skills to get her point across. What if they find a way to get into the middle? And this is a show about relationships and about those dynamics that has really, really fun, insane things painted around it to zhuzh it up.
Yeah, it's very much your office comedy, but the stakes seem a little bit higher, and that is brought to you by the beauty of animation. As far as our pilot goes, yes, the day is saved. We do come to a place where Reagan is back in the office, and you might be wondering to yourself, wow, that was quick. It's a 22-minute animated pilot. I don't know what else to tell you. But I'd love to hear from each of you. Were there any things that you loved about this pilot, or maybe recurring jokes that maybe we didn't mention that you want to give a little bit more shine?
I've got 2 really quick. I like there being a runner with Brett's favorite band being Dave Matthews Band.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Pays off in setting Reagan's all is lost moment to crash into me. Having that joke repeat itself to finally be the payoff with that all is lost it's oddly powerful. I feel like this is also a show that pays homage to a lot of other popular animated shows. There's a lot of little inside baseball moment here too. A big plot point hinges on robots not doing well with camera flashes that make them go haywire, which is also a plot point from the Simpsons Itchy and Scratchy Land episode. So I think it's cool that's if you'll recognize these things, and it maybe makes it feel a little more comfort food.
Is that based on a Twilight Zone? I feel like that or a horror movie or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
I also just looked at my notes, and I will be super remiss to not talk about another runner on jet fuel. This can't melt anything.
We have the exact same notes.
Okay, that's the thing though for me about Inside Job is that it's internet humor and it's meme humor, but it's also about fathers and daughters, and I don't know. It finds ways to do really good relationship dynamics with just the most off the wall internet comedy zhuzhed in there.
Rich, what about yourself?
Oh man, I got a couple more. Those are all absolutely terrific. The crash into me needle drop was that really bust me up laughing. I definitely loved Brett's giant Pitbull poster that says Daly on the top, because I feel like as simple as that is, I feel like that's a product that doesn't exist. And obviously the jet fuel one is an amazing one, but my favorite, just because I'm extremely cynical about financial markets and stuff like that. What does America being trapped in a large cube mean for Wall Street? That was just a really, really terrific spot that they put on the news channel there. And then obviously when they plugged the president robot into the internet, and he's like, oh God, yeah, just Florida alone. It's a high quality 9/11 joke, a high quality Florida joke, a high quality Pitbull joke.
Secession had none of them.
One of these shows won a lot of Emmys. The other had Pitbull jokes in it. So as far as myself goes, I love having the character of Brett in here. Because it's this, I love a lovable idiot. I think that having a lovable idiot is just such an easy thing.
He's the Josh Gad of the show.
Yeah, he's the Josh Gad. He's the Joey of the show for the Friends folks out there. Like,
for the amigos.
For the joke of saying, I went through 32 Hell Weeks is like, when it was just like,
I think we're in a targeted demo for that one, Jeff.
Yeah, like, when he said that, I just was like, yeah, no, I'm on the floor laughing. And then when they were like, oh, he worked for the State Department, but he was a personal trader, I was just like, this is great.
Oh,
like,
Jeff is Brett.
Yeah, no, I am Brett. But like, I also, just to give it a little bit more credit, I know we already talked about it, feast for the eyes. Like, to not just take it off and do like we're doing animation because like we can do these ridiculous things, but throwing in these small details of like, in Brett's office, he had a Shazam poster or a Kazam poster just like on the wall as one of his things. He had the Dave Matthews poster. Like, using those small little details it takes a little bit more effort, but it pays off when they are seen.
I did miss that one. Was that like the poster? Did I miss a Mandela effect joke with that? Was it a Shazam Sinbad poster?
Yes,
okay.
It's a Kazam Shaquille O'Neal poster. It's a Kazam Shaq poster.
No, I know that, but the Mandela effect thing is that people think that there's a Shazam. There's a movie called Shazam, and it stars the comedian Sinbad.
Oh no, I'm aware of this. Yes,
I know, but yes, there is in fact a real movie where Shaq plays a genie.
Well, we do have a couple of before we get to that, let me okay, so we talked about things that we loved. What about wait a minute moments for you in this pilot? Like, we deal with a lot of conspiracy theories in here. This might get a little bit uncomfortable with some of the jokes. Were there any that like caused you pause?
Yeah, this is a deep state conspiracy, but there's a little continuity error when Rand is drinking in the apartment with Reagan. His liquor bottle changes mid-scene on the table. It's an
I hope someone got fired for that blunder.
It's an animated bottle of Ancient Age, and then like the label entirely changes in the middle of the scene. And it's not like he's pouring more or gets anything new. There's just a different animated bottle on the coffee table.
Rich, I have good news, bad news about the firing thing.
Okay. Oh no.
Rich, what about you?
For me, I think this is not to say anything is like a perfect pilot. That's a hard tag to put on anything. But I think the one thing for me, also in Reagan's apartment, it's really shitty for her being in like a massive position of power for being at this this company. And I'm like, what's Reagan doing with her money? Is she just like really bad at it? Also, shouldn't her dad be like super wealthy, having like run this place at some point?
This is a pilot where you could very easily be offended by one thing, but then laugh immediately 5 seconds later. So, like, I sort of put it in this entirely different category of, like, rather than regular wait a minute moments where we talk about, wow, that was a little bit iffy. Like, this is one where it's just like, yeah, we intended for this to get a little bit weird at certain points. And, like, Rich, mine is very similar to something you said at the beginning. I think that there was an opportunity to draw some of this out a little bit more. Like, let us find out that Mothmen are real, and like, but it's like someone works in HR and they're a Mothman. Like
I just read through the cast list, and it's one of my favorite stand-up comedians.
Yeah,
Ron Funches.
It is Ron Funches. But it's one of those things where there is something to this show does do a good job of setting the stakes so high that you want to see how they go even higher, but there's an opportunity of like doing a small bite at a time to make it better. But I also recognize this is Netflix. It is very cutthroat of what survives and what doesn't. We do have an in-flight question. This was what if I said, we got some of the most interesting in-flight questions we have ever received when we put this on socials.
We threw out on social media that we wanted to hear about like conspiracy theories and deep state and government, and boy, did you come through.
So one of the in-flight conspiracy theories that we heard, I'm not going to use people's names this time. I think that is, let's just let them be out there. You know who you are, and you know that you're out there. And
there
one
is a mysterious van outside my house right now.
One is Bigfoot is real and is just some poor dude they did genetic testing on, which is horrifying.
That's so sad, but that feels real.
Another one that I got was, question, what kind of world do we live in where Velma got another season, but this got canceled? Which I also don't have an answer for, but that's a great conspiracy theory. So my
Shion,
question...
is that you?
Writing in from his burner account.
I guess my question to the two of you, we've already talked about what our favorite conspiracy theory is on a previous episode of actually the X-Files, which I highly recommend that y'all check out if you are into that show or are curious about it. But I'm curious about what of the conspiracy theories that we know about would you believe it, like if someone was just like, hey, this is real, we see it on breaking news, CNN tonight, which is the most believable, where you're like, you know what? Fuck it. I guess so.
Are you saying things from the show, or things that were just said, or just blank canvas?
Okay.
Just go for it. Have some fun. Have a fucking party.
I mean, we did get. I don't think those UFO videos are real.
Oh,
I think everyone's kind of blowing smoke over this one, and I think it's like most of the UFO type videos can be explained by like solar like reflection activity off of like different buildings, the ocean, different planes, stuff like that. I'm not following Blink-182 into the depths with this one. I'm so sorry.
Rich, not going to your next Blink-182 concert. Max, what about you?
Wait, you want one that I would be supportive of, or one that I just don't think is real?
What would be the one that was least surprising? You see it on CNN tomorrow.
Oh God, I think least surprising for me. I'm gonna go with basically any like creature being proven as real. Like if we actually got Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, the Jersey Devil, like any of those things actually in the flesh, like we caught them, we tested on them, we figured out what their DNA is. I think any of those things can be real. Have you ever seen the shit that comes out from the bottom of the ocean? They just discovered
horrifying.
They just discovered like 6 new species in like a trench in New Zealand, and none of them look like they're of this earth. Like anything involving a creature that we don't believe is real being real, I think is real.
I am a firm believer of stay the fuck out of the ocean, stay the fuck out of space. Because we do not know. We don't want to know. We don't want to know. Also, back-to-back Loch Ness Monster references on the pod. I'm proud of us.
Yeah, no, eat me. Loch Ness, eat me.
Offer still valid. Offer still valid.
As long as I get to go to Scotland, I will sacrifice myself. As far as myself, like Max, I'm in complete agreement. If you told me that, there was a, creature of the Black Lagoon that was out there, I'd be like, hell yeah, like, cool, that's great. But I think for myself, when it comes to any of the a certain president's assassination conspiracy theories that come out there, if one of them hypothetically was true, I would not be that surprised.
You're talking about James Garfield, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, who's the president who died because they had a bad lunch or something like that?
That might have been James Garfield, actually.
There was one where it was just like someone died, they had lobster that was slightly bad,
That was
and
James
it's just and it's just like,
Oh,
cool.
I see you also watch the Conan Hot Ones.
Yes. So like it's one of those things. Also, if all of the
Garfield was shot. Sorry.
yeah. Also, here's another one. I'll just throw this out there. If the rumors / conspiracies of why Conan O'Brien was no longer on NBC and it really was Jay Leno, I would instantly believe that and be like, cool, that is why. He can never speak about it.
Was, so.
But it was, but like I just need it said out loud so I believe it from the horse's mouth. That's very much how I live.
You should describe James Garfield's assassination as being odious. That's a good Garfield joke right there.
God damn it. That's really good.
If he died on a Monday, it's even funnier. All right, so
it was bad lasagna.
Thank you for your in-flight questions and in-flight conspiracy theories. Let's talk a little bit about the history of this show. So this show was originally ordered for 20 episodes when Netflix ordered it. It only got 18. But here's some of the really interesting stuff. Within the first 7 days of this show debuting, because it was debuted in 2 different parts as one season. First part was 10 episodes. Second part was 8 episodes. So with some home-brewed math once again appearing, the average viewership for all 10 episodes was 5.8 million viewers per episode, which for a animated show amongst a ton of other shit on Netflix is really, really impressive. It's about, I think the number was 23.4 million hours of viewership.
Jeff, quick question for you.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing 18 episodes of the show.
Yeah.
Wait, did you just say 10?
Well, 10 for the first. This is the math portion of the podcast. This is where we find out, how did you do on the SATs? Now,
math is a deep state conspiracy. It doesn't exist. It's not real.
You had mentioned earlier that it was also a 1-season show.
Yeah, so let's talk about what actually happened. So after the final 8 episodes were released, the show was originally renewed for a second season. Unfortunately, it was then revoked as far as the renewal. Netflix said takesy backsies and said we're rewriting the deal that we had already signed and no longer want to do the show. And because it was a Netflix animated show, that made it entirely more difficult to go anywhere else, even though there was a lot of like fanfare for this show. There are more than myself. There are multiple people who said, "Hey, I would love if you guys did this show because I want to know what the fuck happened here." And this is just a case of, unfortunately, Netflix making a choice about animation that hurt some really popular stuff that when it came out, and this is an all too common theme. Other things, no, there's no hard media, but this show has a prestigious award that I would like to give it, which is it has the highest winning percentage for any show for awards that we have done. It was nominated for 1 award and it won 1 award. So I would like to congratulate them for that. But yeah, like,
do you know what that is, Jeff? Was it an Annie or something?
Well, Max, it was actually a Reframe Award, which I do not know what that is, but I bet it's important.
Congratulations.
It's
I
one
think
more
we're up for a reframe.
It's one more industry award than we have been nominated for or won. And
I like to imagine it's also a surfboard.
Just floating around on your surfboard. But that is this show, and it's really complicated history as far as what happened to it. Rich, it is time for your game of the week.
Yeah, so we touched on it a little bit with the question you had brought up earlier, Jeff, but I found some conspiracy theories that were actually proved true, and I want to see if you guys could guess the answers for this quiz.
All of them. They're all
It's
true.
multiple choice. All right. Hopi filed a W-2, a longtime conspiracy theory about his maintenance of power and influence. Turns out the CIA was actually paying A. Fidel Castro, B. Mahatma Gandhi, C. John Lennon, D. the Dalai Lama.
I'm going to go with Castro.
Just to be a little bit different, let's say John Lennon.
The Dalai Lama was on the CIA payroll for quite a long time, discovered in 1998 after some documents came out. And he was essentially, I guess he had like kind of like a military force that he was also leading. It was like a band of fighters or rebels or revolutionaries or something like that. But it was essentially to have a presence next to increasingly communist China. All right. A cataclysmic start to the war, a U.S. warship fired upon nothing and reported engaging in a battle with this country who never had actually fired on any U.S. military. Is it A, Germany, B, Japan, C, Vietnam, D, Iraq?
I'm going Iraq. We went for the oil.
I'm gonna go with in agreement with you, Max. I think it's Iraq as well.
It's Vietnam. Google the Gulf of Tonkin incident. There was they had, I can't remember the name of the exact warship, but they had fired on basically nothing, and the news getting broadcast to the country put everyone in such a like a fervor that, oh my god, we're going to war. Like we have a U.S. We have a U.S. ship that was like engaged in a military attack. All right. Which of these insane sounding machines was in fact real and implemented in the 1960s? Is it A, the tsunami bomb, B, Gaydar, C, human tracking chips, D, Moonraker?
Well, one of those is from James Bond. And it's
Inspiration comes from
Gaydar.
anywhere.
I'm going to say A.
The tsunami bomb?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the human tracking chips.
Once again, both of you guys are wrong. It is Gaydar.
No fucking way.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's pretty sad. There's like a 2018 documentary on it. So essentially in like McCarthyism times, the Canadian government tapped a Carleton University professor to create a machine that tracks pupil reaction, perspiration, and pulse as a response to a test showing them erotic imagery and quote-unquote homosexual words as a way to eliminate gay people from civil service in the military. So thousands of people were fired or resigned, and a lot of people committed suicide after the fact, too.
That's nuts. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, we're all horrible, including Canada.
Well,
anyways,
Rich,
on a great note, on a fun end to the fun ending note for a comedy show. Let's keep rolling.
Rich, thank you for that educational game of the week. Before we come to a close on this flight, I have two questions for each of you. I am genuinely curious, based off of this pilot, if you will continue, maybe give a second episode chance. They're 22 minutes long. It's very short. You can do this maybe if you have an extended bathroom break. But also, my other question is, did this show deserve a second season? Did Netflix make a mistake in saying, you know what, lots of viewership, but fuck it. We need to have another reality TV show where two people fall in love with each other, but they can only touch each other. So I'm curious.
I am personally going absolutely yes. I'm watching another episode of this. I think this is. I just really liked all the joke. I'm a sucker for anything joke dense. Also, I just love the subject matter, and I think it's like a really great premise. And I would love to see more of this show. I would say maybe on a third season or second season or whatever the hell. Because I mean, it sounds like it was ended prematurely, and I think it could actually be the name of the show that led people not to watch it or to back it quite as hard. Because I think I didn't click on it because it might have been as dumb as the name. Like, it could have been that stupid of a reason that I didn't watch this initially.
Sure. Max, what about yourself?
Yeah, this is a yes for me. I don't know if it's like a smash yes, because there's some plot stuff that I'm a little unsold on, but the jokes are so dense here, and they really just pepper them at you. And if you're gonna throw that many one-liners, that many visual gags, and that many really star-studded guest voices in there, I'm gonna check it out because I know I'm gonna find things that I like. Yeah, 100% this deserved a chance to keep going. I don't know off of this if it's like a narrative arc or episodic or like how they do like the plot of the show. But I think that one season isn't enough time to get your sea legs and really figure out what you are and how your characters interact. And in animation, you just have the ability to use that medium to go anywhere. And I would love to see how they continue to explore that world. Maybe they'll be fortunate enough. It feels like there's a lot of fervor for it from what you've said, Jeff.
Yeah, and for myself, I have watched this pilot once again, and I am going to watch this entire show through once again. As far as another season of the show, yeah, when the news came out that this was officially canceled, I was shocked. Because a lot of people, and I'm interested to see with you two when we, aren't recording, who I've talked to have said, wow, I really like that. I'm going to watch it. And then when they found out it was canceled, they were like, what the fuck? Why was this canceled? This is very unique. There's nothing that it's like conflicting with. This is not one favorite child versus another favorite child situation, and only one can win. So yeah, I'd love to see more of this happen. I think this is a situation where sometimes producers and executives make dumb fucking choices, and this might be one. There also, and I'll give some honesty and I'll be fair and say there might be shit that happened behind the scenes that none of us know, and we won't know for a long, long time.
The Netflix deep state.
Exactly. But that is our flight. And before we go, I want to make sure that folks can find both of y'all in case they want to learn a little bit more about you and maybe your conspiracy theories. Rich, where can folks find you?
Well, you can find me putting up a giant Pitbull poster that says Daly, and also opening my third eye. You can find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. You can find original sketch comedy from Max and myself over at TikTok at Dadwagon Comedy.
Max?
You can find me enjoying some margaritas at Don Cuco's, a real Mexican restaurant in Toluca Lake. You can find me on all things social media at Maxwell Singh.
And you can find me most days, except when there's a full moon out. You don't want to find me then. But if you are looking for me on social media, you can find me at RunJeffRun. If you are looking for the TV Pilot's License, you want to listen to more of our stuff, then you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, as well as on YouTube to see our smiling faces. If you have a question for the podcast, maybe you have a suggestion of what we should watch next, or more conspiracy theories, throw them at us.
That one.
That one. It makes it fun for us. You can shoot us an email at tvpilotslicense@gmail.com or give us a call at 213-290-1713. Make sure to watch out for our sneak previews of some of the stuff we have coming up. But with the seatbelt sign off and the plane landed, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. And until then, the truth is out there.
Kill me.